now present For the Record.
Just ahead, turmoil on the Wisconsin Elections Commission as a longtime commissioner resigns, and another vies to lead the state's top elections agency.
I would certainly welcome Justice Gableman on the commission.
I would argue I have all the legal background needed.
But we begin with unspeakable tragedy.
He shot our next person's door, and then we have a door in the middle, and he opened it, and then he came in and he crouched a little bit, and he said it's time to die.
She was very happy and very outgoing. Loved to dance and sing and play sports. She was big into family, enjoyed being with the family.
This week, there aren't words to fully capture their pain or a nation's collective heartbreak. Welcome to For the Record. I'm Naomi Kowles. Calls for gun reform take center stage after an 18-year-old gunned down 19 students and 2 teachers at a school in Texas. We learned later 19 officers stood in the hallway outside that classroom for 45 minutes waiting for backup, while children inside bled out or called 911 begging for the help standing just outside. The shooter, eventually killed by police, legally purchased the assault-style rifle he used. And then walkouts this week. Wisconsin students didn't mince words about the laws that allowed him to do so or the politicians in charge of those laws.
Nothing has changed.
When is it going to be enough?
It's easier to get a gun than a therapist. Let's make it easier to get a damn therapist and harder to get a gun.
The people who are making laws are not doing anything. They're saying their hands are tied. They're saying it's too complex when it's really not. They're being cowards. We're trying to speak up for ourselves, the people that are being killed, because no one else is doing it for us.
The issue of basic gun control at a federal level is realistically one that's up to the Senate. Bills have already cleared the Democrat-controlled House that would expand background checks for gun buyers. But an evenly split Senate needs 60 votes to get past any filibuster threat. A small bipartisan group of senators began Thursday to try to find common ground, but compromise is unlikely. 3 times I reached out to Wisconsin's Republican Senator Ron Johnson to appear on this show today. His spokesperson didn't book a time slot. On the Senate floor this week, he pushed a bill codifying a federal clearinghouse for school safety practices that, in fact, already exists.
I ask in unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar number 102 S111.
Here's what he didn't say to CNN reporters when asked about background checks. He later told the New York Times he wouldn't back them.
In the wake of this shooting, why not expand background checks, including on firearms and on gun sales? Why not expand background checks?
I'm now joined by one of the 4 major Democrat candidates trying to unseat Senator Johnson this fall, Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me today.
So I don't have to ask you where you stand on an issue, for example, like universal background checks. But where I want to start is with the bill that I just referenced. What do Democrats gain by not joining on this federal clearinghouse bill that might not accomplish anything close to what they want, but could be billed as some kind of bipartisan effort?
Well, it's important that we do everything we possibly can in this moment, prioritize the things that we know will make an impact. The cost of inaction is lives, and we've experienced this far too often. This is a far too common tragedy that takes place in the United States of America, and our children, everybody truly deserves more, but especially our children.
I want to go through a number of different gun positions. I want to actually start with, do you think the Second Amendment has any place in modern America?
Well, this is about making sure that we keep people safe. Focusing on background checks this does not impede on the Second Amendment by any means. We can respect the Second Amendment and still keep people safe at the same time. And gun owners agree. Universal background checks should be the most common sense piece of legislation we can get passed. It's a shame that it hasn't happened federally. 80% of people in the state of Wisconsin support it, at least. This is a no-brainer for us right now, and it is a shame that Congress is controlled by the gun lobby that is keeping our streets, our communities, our schools, our grocery stores less safe.
The federal government has an age limit for buying handguns. That's 21 years old. There's a lower age limit, though, 18 years old for assault-style rifles. What age do you think it should be legal to buy this type of gun, AR-15 style gun?
Well, the thing is, weapons of war shouldn't be as easily accessible as they are in the first place, regardless of what age you are. These weapons were designed to obliterate a human body in war, in combat. And the idea that a person can so easily access one, take it into a school and murder school children, I don't think we should even be considering age. We should be considering our future, our next generation, and how children can go to school without the anxiety of wondering if they'll be next, without parents having to worry about what's going to happen if their children are going to be able to come back from recess. It's a shame that the debate has even gotten to this place in this country.
So in other words, should anyone, non-military or without a very specific, perhaps, job reason for buying this type of gun, should they be able to buy this gun, yes or no?
Well, the fact that you can buy a weapon of war so easily, I think it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, these are the things that don't have any sort of place in civil society, like in common society. The fact that you can terrorize a school building or a grocery store so easily, no, that's a shame.
Can we get very specifically into? So you're saying so easily. I want to talk. Okay, what restrictions specifically do you want to place on this type of purchase?
Well, the first thing, again, I go back to universal background checks. I think that is the bare minimum, and also extreme risk laws that would signal or send a red flag if a person has exhibited behavior that they will be a threat to themselves or a threat to the general public, and to have weapons temporarily removed from that individual. This shooter showed warning signs. It could have been prevented. Most of these instances involve individuals who have exhibited or displayed behavior that is concerning. And honestly, the more you read about these stories, the less surprised people become about the fact that they could carry out such heinous activity.
If you could point to one country outside of the U.S. whose gun laws most closely match what you would think are ideal, what country would that be?
Well, I mean, we're the only country in this entire world that experiences gun violence at the rate that we do. We're the only country on the entire planet that sees this type of mass shooting activity almost regularly. So you can almost point to any other place in the developed world as a better example than what we have now.
Do you think teachers should be armed, as Assembly Speaker Robin Vos suggested he might be open to this week?
Yeah, well, it's a shame when people like Speaker Vos say that. They don't even want teachers to have the tools they need to be able to teach properly. Teachers are having to spend money out of their own pockets to buy school supplies. So the fact that we also automatically have money to arm teachers is the most absurd thing in the entire world. And most teachers don't even want to be armed in a classroom. It's already enough. The teaching profession places enough stress on educators as it is. So to give them an added responsibility where teachers are playing teacher, they're playing social worker, they're playing nurse, and now they're supposed to play security guard, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Working in the Senate is a lot about compromising with people you don't agree with. So what would you compromise on this issue?
So where we are right now, we have a choice. We can save lives or we can kowtow to the gun lobby. The direction we've been going in this country all these years, all this time, after Sandy Hook, after Columbine, to find ourselves in the same place where we're subject to the same tragedies, the same terror, what is the compromise? What is the middle ground here? We can either save lives or we can't. We can talk about the things that matter to people, and we can act on the things that matter, the things that are supported by an overwhelming majority of people in this country and an overwhelming majority of gun owners. Why haven't we gotten universal background checks? And that's why it's important for us to expand the majority with people who truly understand and people who truly want to see public safety exhibited in the United States of America. The time has I can't even say the time is now. It's been time. We shouldn't be talking about what can we do. The question is, why aren't we doing it?
Thank you so much for joining us today, Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you.
When we come back, we turn next to elections and the shakeup at the state agency that runs them.